It all starts, todo empieza with the roots, con las raíces, that you don't see in this case, they're down there somewhere, que no se ven ahora en este caso, que están por ahí abajo. And that's what we're going to talk about with Elle. Roots of Tantra, our next retreat coming up 7th to 9th of November here in Lalita. Y de eso vamos a hablar con Elle, Raíces del Tantra, el siguiente retiro que vamos a tener aquí en Lalita del 7 al 9 de noviembre. So Elle, to start, please tell us what is this workshop about and who is it for? Elle, para empezar, cuéntanos de qué va este retiro y para quién es.
So the workshop that we're going to do is called Roots of Tantra. And what do we mean by that? Well, there's a lot of people that are practicing Tantra already for a while, or people that just begin and that don't have really an idea of the different aspects of Tantra. So a lot of the time in the West, Tantra is equalized with a kind of sexual healing practices or even with massage sessions. But this has really not so much to do with where Tantra comes from and what the roots are of Tantra, which is kind of an anti-dogmatic, non-dual practice. What does that mean? It's actually historically was a practice that broke with the rules of purity and of dualism, so that there is good and there is bad, that you can practice in certain circumstances and not in others, that some people can practice and some people cannot. In that sense, Tantra was early on quite a revolutionary practice. It broke with all those rules and it said like the whole body is part of the spiritual work. Everything that happens in a human being's life is part of the spiritual work, including sickness or death or indeed also sexuality. Actually, the first Tantra practitioners were somehow revolutionary in the sense that they included people in the practice that were traditionally not allowed in the practice, like women, but also people from a wrong caste or a lower caste. And they practice in very simple circumstances, like the people that kind of influenced the beginning of Tantra usually practiced in the woods. They are also the practitioners of the graveyards. So it's a practice that is really working on the limits of what is acceptable for society. So in that sense, it's non-dogmatic. What is left of that practice is this idea of liberation through practice that is still part of the Neo-Tantra, but that has become watered down to kind of freeing your sexuality, which is of course not wrong, but it's very, very reduced sense of Tantra.
Muy interesante, very interesting, Elle. Could you please give us a bit more information about yourself and your particular way of combining these two types of Tantra? ¿Podrías darnos un poco más de información sobre ti y tu manera particular de combinar estos dos tipos de Tantra?
So I am Elle Monk, and I've been practicing for quite a while now, let's say around 15, 20 years. I've been teaching for a long time. And what is very particular about the way I work is that I bring classical Tantra and the newer forms of Tantra, the Neo-Tantra, together, because they all come from a particular context with particular needs. And I do understand the needs of the Western world were different from the circumstances in which the Tantra kind of was born. So on the one hand, we have the Neo-Tantra, which is actually working really with this monkey mind of the West, with people that are stressed and get too much information in their heads and are completely lost in the sense of that they don't find a something to hold on in their spiritual lives, because our spiritual lives have been have been distorted, have been blown to pieces. It's very hard to find anything to hold on to. And so what I bring from the classical Tantra is a simple, pragmatic, spiritual technology that you can use in your everyday life, and that kind of brings your practice of Tantra, of healing on whatever level, it places it within a larger context in which you can find your grounding, and you can find maybe the recognition of your place in the world. So we don't just practice Tantra for pleasure in the moment, but we practice Tantra because it gives us something to hold on to recognize ourselves, to recognize our place in the world.
Yes, absolutely. And from my experience of working with you, I can just absolutely confirm that this combination of the Neo-Tantra and the Classical Tantra is just really powerful. And of course, Roots of Tantra is just a first taster. It's a weekend retreat. So could you tell us, Elle, a bit more what kind of practices we are gonna do and in what way this retreat will help us on our path of life and of Tantra? Sí, yo puedo totalmente confirmar que este enfoque que tiene él de combinar el neo-tantra con el tantra clásico es realmente poderoso. Y claro, este retiro de Raíces del Tantra es un fin de semana solamente. Y entonces, cuéntanos un poco más qué tipo de ejercicios vamos a hacer y cómo nos pueden ayudar en nuestro camino de Tantra y de la vida.
So what we will try to do in this workshop, Roots of Tantra, is to put the classical Tantra and the Neo-Tantra next to one another. So to practice in the mornings meditations or exercises from the classical Tantra, which is a lot of breath work, a lot of kind of movement combined with breath work, chakra intoning, working on the energetic body and what that exactly is. So also explaining a little bit what that means, working on the energetic body. And then in the afternoon, we go from these practices to the versions of the Neo-Tantra. So how these have been translated in the Neo-Tantra. So then you have a good way of comparing one with the other, and also to orient yourself within the Tantra world if you want to go further. Then you know also where to find what.
Amazing. Sounds like a really good plan. Realmente suena como un muy buen plan. Any last words that you would like to share with us today? ¿Algunas palabras más que quisieras compartir con nosotros hoy?
What I always say is Tantra is a practice that is a petition to become undone. So you don't do Tantra because you want to feel better or you want to kind of recognize how amazing you are, although sometimes you will absolutely feel amazing, but it's also a practice that confronts you, brings you back to your roots, questions you, and gives you another view on life and on the role you have to play in this life.
Thank you, Elle. Gracias, Elle. If all of this resonates with you and you feel a yes, then don't hesitate to reach out. Si todo eso te resuena y sientes un sí, no dudes en contactar con nosotros y venir al siguiente retiro de Tantra aquí en Lalita, Raíces del Tantra, del 7 al 9 de noviembre. Join us for our next Tantra retreat here in Lalita, Roots of Tantra, 7th to 9th of November. Breath, sound, movement. Respiración, sonido, movimiento.